For everyday cleaning, you want to use another type of scrubber. And what we found is that you don't want anything too complex like this one. It's got 3 separate cleaning mechanisms. When we were using one of them, one of the others always got in the way. We couldn't get to the edges of the grate. It also had a handle that was a little short and put our hands too close to the fire, so we weren't enthusiastic about that. This is the one that we like the best. This one is the Grill Wizard 18-inch China grill brush, and we liked it for a few reasons. Number one, the handle is comfortable, so you can really bear down on it. It's the right length, so you're not near the heat. Number two, we loved these stainless steel mesh pads for scrubbing. They really conform to the grill grates and do a good job cleaning. And these come out. You can just pop them out. There are 2 of them here. They're durable. You can put them through the dishwasher if you want. You can replace them whenever you want. So, considering how important it is to have a really clean grill grate if you want to grill anything, we think that this brush, even at $40, is a great investment in your grilling.
So, Adam, you've gone high and low. If you just got your Wall Street bonus, you can get the Kettle Pizza Pro Grate for $300 for grilling pizza on your Kettle grill. And then for cleaning, at $40, the Grill Wizard does a fabulous job. I've just about had it with food fads.
Oh,
I
no.
mean, there was goat cheese, there was purple potatoes. Remember kiwis? That woman in LA who sold everybody kiwis with these small green hairy fruits. They're awful. Try to make a tart with those. And now we have kale, and now we have quinoa. It's kind of crunchy, it's mushy, it's airy. It's like all the bad things together. You got to turn me into quinoa lover, and that's going to be hard.
You need to calm down.
I do need to calm down. I'm having a quinoa fit.
We can fix it. I agree. That looks really bad. And if that's how you cook it, I wouldn't like it either.
Okay,
but
so
I have a new way to go at it, and you're going to like it.
I have an open mind for 10 minutes. I have a window.
Okay,
here.
all right, 10 minutes. We better get going.
Okay.
But you know what? Quinoa, when it's cooked right, it has a really nice, appealing texture. It's fluffy, it's light, has a lot of protein, nearly complete protein. Lots of fiber.
So does the steak. Steak has a lot of protein.
This is true.
Okay.
So let's get started. I have 1.5 cups of quinoa, and if you give me some medium-high heat there, we'll get it in the pan. We're going to toast it. That'll bring out its nice nutty flavor. So this is pre-washed quinoa, and if your quinoa is not pre-washed, or if you're not sure, if you can't tell by looking at the label, you just want to rinse it in a strainer and then lay it out on a baking sheet that has a kitchen towel on it and let it sit for about 15 minutes. So we're going to toast this for about 5 to 7 minutes until it starts to make a popping sound. We're cooking white quinoa today, but if you go to the market, you'll find red quinoa and black quinoa as well. The white quinoa is the softest, and it has a mild, nutty taste. The red quinoa has a seed coat that's just a little bit thicker, so it has a little bit more texture to it. And then the black quinoa has an even thicker seed coat. And we didn't really like its texture when we cooked it up. It cooked up with kind of a sandy texture. So you could use the white or the red. We don't really recommend using the black unless a recipe specifically calls for it.
So for beginners like me, we would stick with this quinoa.
I would go with the white, or the red would also be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you listen very carefully, you can hear the quinoa talking to us.
This is Orville Redenbacher's quinoa. It pops like popcorn.
It's popping, right?
Yeah.
And you can see it turned a little bit darker, but mostly you can tell that it's ready by that popping sound. So it's been about 5 minutes. So we'll take it out of the pot here. And now we'll continue with the recipe. We're going to make quinoa pilaf. So we're starting with 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Let that melt. Okay, so our butter is just about melted. I have 1 small onion chopped up fine. And I'm going to add some South American flavors to our quinoa. This is a teaspoon of chipotle powder. A little bit spicy, a little bit smoky. And then that's 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt and 1/4 of a teaspoon of cumin.
Okay.
So we'll just saute this for about 5 to 7 minutes until the onions are softened. So it's been about 5 minutes. And now we'll add our quinoa back to the pot. That's our 1.5 cups of toasted quinoa. And we're using 1 3/4 cup of water. Now this is really different from most recipes. Most recipes use twice as much water.
Hence the mushy quinoa, which I came out with.
Exactly. Our ratio is just over 1 to 1. So 1.5 cups of quinoa, 1 3/4 cups of water. So we'll increase the heat to medium-high. Give that a little stir. Put the lid on. And we'll let that cook for 18 to 20 minutes until the grains are nice and tender and fluffy. I'm going to stir it halfway through, and that's so that the grains that are on the exterior of the pot don't overcook.
Okay. First letter today is from Marie from Lawrence, Kansas, who writes, "My husband yells at me for poking a roast to see if they're done. His mother always told him that it would lose juices that way, but I think it's an old wives' tale. So we did a test. We took a batch of steaks. We did not poke with holes before we cooked them, and a batch of steaks that we did, we weighed them before cooking and after cooking, and both sets of steaks, whether they were poked or not, lost exactly 19.6% of the weight. There was no difference. Well, why is that true? Well, think about a wet sponge. If you poked a knife into a wet sponge, the water wouldn't come pouring out. Very similar to a piece of meat, a steak. The muscle fibers trap in juices, and the only time they come out of the meat is when the steak starts to heat up, the muscle fibers contract and push out the liquid. So, the only thing that matters in terms of being a juicy steak or dry steak is the final internal temperature. Next letter is from Bob from Birmingham, Alabama, who writes, I often see an ingredient like 1/4 cup of pecans, chopped. I never know if I'm supposed to measure or chop first. Well, it just depends on how it's written. If it says 1/4 cup of pecans chopped, measure first, then chop. If it's written 1/4 cup chopped pecans, you chop the pecans and then measure them. Our next letter is from Molly from Alexandria, Louisiana. She writes, I received a salad bowl when I got married back in the 60s. As you can imagine, it's quite dingy after all these years. Is there a way to make it less sticky? Actually, there is. Take medium grain sandpaper, rub it until it gets very matte and light colored. Wash it out, let it dry, and then coat it with a very fine food-grade mineral oil. Let it sit 15 minutes, then wipe it out with a paper towel. Be sure never to put a salad bowl in a dishwasher or let it stand wet. Of course, you can write to us at atk@americastestkitchen.com.
So it's been a while now. I let the quinoa cook for about 20 minutes, and I stirred it halfway through cooking, and then I took it off the heat, and I've been letting it sit for 10 minutes now with the cover on, just so it can finish cooking very gently. Looks good. See how fluffy that is?
It looks slightly better than the one I brought in.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And now we're just going to stir in a couple of things to make it even tastier. This is a 1/2 cup of queso fresco. That's a really nice, mild cheese. 1/2 cup of roasted peanuts. 2 scallions, thinly sliced. And 4 teaspoons of lime juice. Just mix that up. All right.
It smells good, it looks good.
All right,
Okay.
let's get you to try some of
Yeah.
this. There you go. The moment of truth. Here we go.
It's all been talk so far, Becky.
I know. It's so light and fluffy.
really good.
Yeah, it's great. I like how it pops in your mouth a little bit.
It's not gummy, which is one of the problems. It's not wet because you didn't use as much water, which is great. It actually has a nice taste.
So we also have a couple other variations on the website. We have one with herbs and lemon, and then another really nice one with Gouda, pistachios, and apricots.
So I have to admit, I'm a quinoa convert. You
Yes,
did it.
I did it.
So if you want to convert a friend or neighbor to the joys of quinoa, as Becky has just done for me, there's a few secrets. You toast the quinoa to start, add some flavorful ingredients, a little bit of cumin and then chipotle powder as well, and then sauteed some onions and butter. But the secret really was water, 1 3/4 to 1.5 cups of quinoa, so it doesn't turn out mushy. And at the end, of course, you can add all sorts of ingredients, some queso fresco, some scallions, whatever you like. So there you have it, America's Test Kitchen to your kitchen, a whole new way to enjoy the joys of quinoa. This was a quinoa pilaf. You can get this recipe, all the recipes from this season, our equipment ratings, our taste tests, and watch select episodes, of course, at our website, which is americastestkitchen.com.